Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. I am Pasta Jardula.
I'm Fiorella.
And Jonny Sue, spinning on those ones and twos. We have a great show for you today. Last night, as we were playing Cards of Humanity, the Senate had announced they had passed a bill.
Cards Against Humanity, fam.
I'm sorry. My bad. Fiorella was really good at that game. She won the last game, and Eviola won the first one.
Eviola.
Johnny was on the mountain. No, Johnny won the last game. Johnny did
Johnny
good.
won.
He did. That's right. You won one. Johnny won one. Eviola won one. I'm the only one who didn't win one. Well, so
okay, boomer.
52 people watching on the Convo Couch YouTube. We have a few people watching on the ROKFIN. Guys, if you can get over to the ROKFIN and endorse us, and you're in a position to, please do so. It's $9.99 a month. It gives you exclusive content. And it would really, really help us out. We also have a GoFundMe that somebody just hit up this morning. Thank you, Anonymous. We love that person. He constantly hits us up. So you're really helping us out. And when we get back to the normal life, if there is such a thing, we will put that money to good use and go where we got to go. We chase down the stories is what I'm trying to say. Right, fam?
And either way, I think it's time to have a collective support for the movement because, you know, the way things are shaping up, these politicians aren't going to come to our rescue. They're just not. They're really don't care because they get paid anyway. And both the Democrats and the Republicans have been really just awful on this. And Bernie Sanders is live, I know, talking about some of this. And we're going to go over what his reaction is as well. So basically, you guys, what happened is these corporations were given another bailout, just like in 2008, but much worse this time, considering we have a pandemic to add to it. Mm-hmm. The Senate passed a bill called the Corona Stimulus package, but it was basically a bailout for corporations, a handout, actually, more even than a bailout, a handout to corporations like Boeing. And of course, it was just crumbs for working class people. So let's go over that. Senator Chuck Schumer on Sunday on Capitol Hill said, quote, "Like all compromises, this bill is far from perfect." And the Democrats also said, according to the New York Times, they embraced a Republican plan to provide $1,200 in direct payments for workers with incomes up to $75,000 per year before phasing out and ending altogether for those earning more than $99,000. Families would receive an additional $500 per child. The problem with that is, and I'm going to go over it. This is dependent on tax from the year before, and that can be problematic because you might have shifted in what you earned. You might have things due, whether it's like a loan or something. So you might not necessarily get the full $1,200. And another thing is, if you've been laid off and you're out of work, you're telling people that you're not going to give them anything if they make more money than $75,000 a year. So all those people that are okay in the middle class are still going to need some sort of help, because now all their bills are backed up, their utilities, their credit card bills, and their rent and their car payments, so on and so forth. So it's not like it's not going to affect them unless they had something saved in the bank. And what we know about the state of America before the pandemic, the majority of people didn't have more than, $1,000 saved in the bank account. Most people are living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go well enough in this.
So you're talking about 2018, which you made in the fiscal year. So if you made a lot more than 99,000 or 75,000 for your household, and now you're not making that for whatever reason, I heard there's provisions in the bills you can apply, but once again, it's the hula hoops you have to jump through to get the money.
Meanwhile, time passes.
Yeah, time does pass. And let's not forget, this is a $1,200 one-time payment. So it's not every month.
After that, you're screwed if you don't go back to work, or if you don't have, your job doesn't hire you back, because we're going to see a lot of small businesses go under because of what they're doing. And this agreement also includes $350 billion that would establish lending programs for small businesses, but only for those that keep their payroll steady through the crisis. Small businesses that pledge to keep their workers would also receive cash flow assistance structured as federally guaranteed loans. If the employer continued to pay workers for the duration of the crisis, those loans would be forgiven. So here's the problem with that. Now you're asking these businesses to take out loans. You're not giving them aid. You're asking them to take out loans. You can push it any way you want, but that's what you're doing. And you're only going to help them if they put their people to work. And Donald Trump is talking about ending the quarantine early, which is going to put people to work earlier. Going to, of course, be a health hazard, obviously, during a pandemic. And so you're basically pretty much holding people hostage, not just like the working class, but the small businesses. Mm-hmm. By saying, okay, well, you got to work for me, Pasta, because if you don't work, then I don't get help from the government, and then my business goes under. So it's just a set of events, and then Pasta can come back and say, well, I don't want to work because I don't want to risk my life or your life, because I don't know what's going on with this virus, and we're no longer in quarantine, but people are still going to get sick and so on. So what's happening right now is actually a disaster.
Yeah. So what they're saying, these loans will be forgiven. A lot of these loans for the small businesses will eventually be written off, and the person has to give it back. But that's the point where it makes everybody kind of cautious and saying, well, what should we do? Even my old bosses are calling me from my old job saying, well, what's going on, Pasta, with this here? Because we're not sure if we want to take out a loan or use a loan, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because we don't know what strings will be attached to it, what comes, what things come into place for us to get the loan, and what will we be held accountable to pay it back. Yes, the thing you talked about when it comes to the working situation, which we're going to get more into right now, because this is really kind of fucked up from what we said the other day in our show with Donald Trump already saying kind of like, let's get people working back into the economy. It's a sign that says that him, along with the Democrats and the Republicans, are like, they don't want to bail us out or put us on pause, put the economy on pause and take care of themselves. They'd rather put our health at risk and put us back out into the workforce. And that's why this is indicative of this bill they put forth, because they're showing you it's a one-time payment. So they plan to throw us back out to work right away.
Absolutely. And it's a $2 trillion deal, you guys. And a couple other things that are on it. The unemployment insurance on steroids. Yes. So Schumer announced Monday afternoon that the unemployment insurance will be expanded to grapple with a new surge in claims, calling it unemployment insurance on steroids. The new bill will increase unemployment insurance by $600 per week for 4 months. This money in addition to what states pay as a base for unemployment salary. The benefit would extend to gig economy workers, freelancers, and furloughed workers who are still getting health insurance from their employers but are not receiving a paycheck. So this one's important. And guess who pushed for that? Bernie Sanders is the one that slipped that one in there, specifically because of the gig workers, the waitresses, the bartenders, all those people, and the people that, you just need to take into consideration that insurance is a big deal, because a lot of people pay like $400, $500 a month on insurance because of their employer. And so the minute that ends and your insurance ends, and then it's entirely.
They also did it for independent contractors in there as well.
Yep.
Because that's the stage I will go into. But once again, this is not as good as a UBI just handing it out to everybody. This is
at all.
Really what we needed to do was put the economy on pause, because now we're going to overload the unemployment system. There's going to be hula hoops. There's going to be reasons that, they say why they can delay your payment. This is not good. So, I mean, even though there are certain things, once again, that help out the situation where they were able to throw people in the gig economy in, it's still not the course of action or the direction we should be taking at all.
And so next, it just has to go to the House. The House has to approve it, and we're going to see what happens after that. But I just want to go over, there's a picture of the economic stimulus bill, pretty much summarizes $1,200 for most adults, like we said, $500 per child, 4 months of unemployment insurance instead of 3.
Oh, that was the big thing Chuck got, the extra month.
$130 billion for hospitals, but look at these numbers: $130 billion for hospitals, $150 billion for state and local governments, $350 billion for small businesses, and $500 billion for corporations. Some of these corporations who don't even need it. And basically, another thing that I wanted to mention is that the corporations are the ones that are going to pretty much pay zero taxes. And all of this money is going to go straight to the top. That there's no guarantee that they're going to have to hire people back. I mean, they're going to try, and people are going to be forced to take this work, which is why people should just stop participating until we get what we need. But in reality, the stimulus bill represents something else. And I have the picture here, Johnny. Yeah. In reality, this means that we're not going to have money for months or however long it takes. Because right now they're saying late April.
Because it's a one-time payment.
And it's a one-time payment. So you have to make due for April 1st. Yeah. And after that, you may get the $1,200 maybe.
Here's the big one.
And it's a one-time. There's no rent or mortgage freeze.
Okay, so all that money we get, where's it going to go, fam?
Right.
It's going to go to all the essentials, all the bills that we need to pay, and then we're going to have nothing left over. We're going to be working from behind once again. So once again, the American, the worker, the middle class, the everyday, the 99% get zero, bupkis, ugats, okay? And we're supposed to be practicing social distancing, all right? So if we just would pause, put the economy on pause, no rents, no evictions for 3 months, let's fucking make everybody stay at home. Let's make sure we get this thing under containment. Because is it under containment, fam? Because this is the part I'm really confused about. I'm not a doctor. You're at least a TV doctor. You can help me out here. But it seems like what I see in Italy and Spain and other places, this shit is still going on. And we should still be staying in our houses. So why is it so hard for us and our leaders to give us the proper resources to pause for 90 days?
Well, because the economy is more important than your life. And they think, and they're dumb because they think, and I'll talk about this in a minute, but they think that restoring the economy by giving bailouts to corporations is going to happen, and that's not the case. So the small businesses, of course, are going to start being shut down because even with these loans, people aren't going to be able to have the income to go out to these small businesses and shop for clothes and, go to restaurants. People are going to be like unable to feed themselves in that way. Then the corporations will be fine, and they're going to force people to work for them. And so that's kind of what they want here. They want people to work for corporations, small businesses to be pretty much pushed out of existence. And there's not going to be enough for hospitals because if you look at the numbers, the amount that they gave to hospitals is nothing compared to the amount that they gave the corporations. And really what we should be putting more money in are the hospitals, like the equipment, like what Bernie said just now. When he was talking about the coronavirus, where, we would have these independent private companies pretty much start building masks, building respirators, building things for people who need them, beds, building hospitals. We're gonna talk about how other countries are doing this. Other countries are building hospitals, and we can't even be bothered to do that.
And here's the thing too: Donald Trump was just on. He had his press conference, and he was saying that they were testing more people than any country at any time at a higher rate, whatnot. So his information going out is there. The Democrats' information is out, is going here. It's all fucking shit all over the place. Meanwhile, at the end of the day, all I really cared about was having a pause in the economy, a pause in all collections for 90 days. Pause. Hey, phone companies, you're going to pause for 90 days. You're not going to fucking collect things for 90 days. We're going to cut you some type of whatever from the government, but you're not going to collect that money for fucking 90 days because people need it for other things. Hey, rents, evictions, we're going to pause 90 days, okay? We're going to have people stay at home. We're going to get this under control. And after 90 days, we're going to do what Reade Tlaib, suggested. We're going to give people a little bit of leeway to get back in a comfortable way where they won't have to worry about being evicted, how they put food on the fucking table. But we can't even do that.
Nope.
We can't even do that.
And not having enough hospitals or enough equipment is going to get more people sick. It's going to be crowded. If you have another issue, you can't even go to the hospital now. If there's an accident, if there's an earthquake, we're going to be screwed. Yeah. And the fires that are coming with the heat. And of course, the workers are going to be forced to return to work. So the virus is going to spread. And then eventually we're just going to have dead poor people and dead old people, right?
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, they're the older people are most vulnerable. That doesn't mean that younger people aren't getting it. I'm hearing reports of a lot of people between 25 and 45 being in the ICU. And that's the thing. You may not die, but look at all the money that's going to cost you because that's not covered under our system. Bernie Sanders just said that. It's not covered. We don't have enough tests yet. And this is all one giant big mess.
Do we have any footage coming in, or we seen any footage from the American hospitals yet?
No,
that's what we need to start seeing. If you got any footage of American hospitals in the States, send it in. I'd like to see, because I was just about to ask you that, but aren't you a little afraid to go? I was going to say, maybe we should go to a hospital. I'm like, we shouldn't go where the coronavirus
well,
is at.
if you go with a mask. I mean,
I don't know. I'm scared. I was just immediately saying we got to go to the LA hospital to see what's going on. But I don't know. Reade Tlaib, right?
So Reade Tlaib had a response to this because obviously her plan is
Boost
different.
Act.
So she said, "Dear Senators, our residents needed help weeks ago. So to settle for a one-time payment rather than reoccurring payments leaves our neighbors too vulnerable in this uncertain times. We must be more aggressive and help people monthly until this crisis ends." So of course she's pushing for a reoccurring thing. And she also spoke later on about the water and how that's not being covered for people because she's in Michigan.
Yeah, well, we had that situation in Lake Worth. There were people, had to pay their last water bills, their electrical bills before shit gets turned off. And it really is it's a shame. It's a shame. But here's the thing. I'm going to say this right now. When it comes to Rashida, Bernie, all those people, I wonder if they got a line to Donald Trump. I mean, we talked about this. At what point do you say, all right, this guy's the fucking president. We got to work with him. We got to get something done.
I don't think they're not trying to get something done. I just think it's not just even Trump. It's Mitch McConnell. It's a lot of the Senate Republicans, and then of course people like Nancy Pelosi.
At what point do we start building those bridges? I mean, at what point do we start saying?
You can't build bridges for people who don't want to build them, though. Like, how are you going to build bridges with Mitch McConnell when he doesn't want to give people money? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, there's a point. I mean, I think Trump was actually on the right track, but I think the Senate were the ones that got him off it. Yeah. And Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, they're useless. Yeah. They're useless. They don't want to give people money either.
But that's the problem, is that when you stand behind a Democratic Party, I don't even say you have to stand behind it, but this whole kind of like reformation where you have to reform the Democratic Party because it's the only way to exist, it's going to be an uphill battle, because then you're carrying the luggage of half your fucking party that's against what you're fighting for, actually.
Right.
It's like Joe Biden's going to be, they're pushing him to be the nominee when he's against Medicare for all and against the Green New Deal. So it's like half the party within each other is just fucking fighting, and it just leaves you out to dry to look responsible for their shit. At what point do you just say, hey man, no matter what, we just got to rage against our own machine, and that is it? I don't know.
I don't think that these people care, because they're okay. So let me put it bluntly: there are people that don't care if people die, and they're not going to change their mind no matter what we do or say. So it doesn't matter how much they like Bernie or Rashida want to work with them. They literally don't want to give people money. They just don't. They don't care if people die. We are expendable to them. What matters is the economy, and that's how they're
people will care if it's their own constituents, their own votes dying. And in a situation like this, no, if they're going to lose their seat, they're going to lose their job. That's it. And we don't know that. Once again, we're projecting that 100%. We have a cancer culture within our Congress that just says, oh, we're going to cancel that person no matter what. No matter what, whoever's making that decision, you're forced to always go and try to deal with that person who's in charge of making that decision.
But these people
There's nothing you can get away from.
But they haven't been held accountable for anything, Pasa. They haven't been held accountable for anything. So it's not like
nobody has been held accountable for anything in Congress, the left or the right. Nobody. So, it doesn't make a difference if they're not held accountable. If they're still making the decisions, you're going to still have to try to go and work with them no matter what. And you should never stop trying to work with them. Because at the end of the day, if they're making a decision, that's it. They're making the decision.
Right.
You're obligated to work with those people if you want to get something for your team.
What I'm saying is, what if those people don't want to work with you? That's what I'm saying. And that's what I think is happening. You never
stop trying. You have to continue
Meanwhile,
to start
people
trying.
die. I mean, I think there needs to be more aggressive measures of, okay, if they're not going to approve this, we're going to somehow defy it in a certain way. And it might take
it didn't work this last 4 years, I'll tell you that much.
It might take the people doing it. So Bernie Sanders' reaction is, unless Republican senators drop their objections to the coronavirus legislation, I am prepared to put a hold on this bill until stronger conditions are imposed on the $500 billion corporate welfare fund. And he said, it says right here that he was reacting to it, and he's willing to place a hold over it. And that here's the thing: the problem with not passing a bill right away is people don't get anything, right? But the problem with passing something like that is that becomes the standard, and then we just get it one time, and then it's going to be really hard to actually fix anything. Now, I don't know if they could pass something new that says, okay, we're going to add a monthly thing to you guys after, and that's a whole other thing. But what Bernie Sanders is really upset about, obviously, is it's the pretty much corporate handouts, the welfare that we're giving to these corporations, and the abysmal sum that we are giving to the people, because we don't have money for them, but we have money for these corporations. And that's what Bernie Sanders is getting at. So that's that. It's going to go to the House still, and we'll see what happens, but it does not look good, people. It really, really is an insult. And there's widespread protests, widespread attempts to general strike, to pretty much stop participating in the economy until they do something about it, right? Because what we have to remember as working class and middle class people, we drive this economy. If we don't go out to eat, if we don't go out and spend money, if we don't participate in the economy, it's going to fail. And that's what they're so dumb. They don't see that. They think that we're going to give money to corporations and it's going to be fine. But if you don't give people money, they're not going to participate in the economy, and your economy is going to go to shit.
Yeah.
And that's what these people are so arrogant that they don't see.
Well, they're already starting to take desperate people, and they know people are going to be desperate and go back to work, and they're going to take the desperate people to go run around their goods and services at a lower price, and they'll get away with it because they're not stupid. They also, they're naive and they're whatever. Like I said, unless it's pitchfork time, they're going to continue on with their same fucking behavior. And that's it. Is that we got to get back to work to save fucking capitalism. Now.
Yeah,
that's their whole mentality. That's what Donald Trump. Rather than worry about the safety and the well-being of fucking ourselves, human beings in general, we're going to risk everything and send people out to work early right now instead of having a stay-at-home, social distancing period, which we can really get this thing under control. And once again, it's just here. It's fucking disgusting. For the sake of capitalism, let's rush people back to work rather than just a simple pause.
What I do recommend for people to do, if you can, is to really not go back to work if you can afford to not go back to work as a form of protest, because we can't really go out and organize a riot or organize anything right now. But the reality is, if you stop participating in the economy and you refuse to pay anything, and you refuse, and some states have eviction protections separate from what the federal government is pushing. So if doing whatever you can do to stop participating in the economy, maybe young people, maybe there could be like a fund for people who want to protest, because the only reason people don't protest is because they need money. And they need work, and they need, and they need things. So maybe, the progressive movement, or at this point, the revolutionary movement, because I think progressive has been co-opted as a term, can do something, can come together and actually, enact a sort of like protest to where we're not participating in the economy until we get something out of it.
Just think about a person who was like riding, Lyft and Uber and just behind on rent and all that stuff, and everything just stops all of a sudden. They got no more money. They got nothing. So now they're going to go out there, expose themselves. Once again, it's the poor people who have to go out and expose themselves. Now you have these delivery services that deliver in groceries and all this other food. But now you're going out, you're touching multiple things, you're in contact with multiple people, rather than do what we need to do, which is that pause. We just need a friggin' pause. That's it. And the government can't even do that during a fucking epidemic. And that just shows you how shitty our Congress is all around. I like to talk about Venezuela, right?
Right. So speaking about how people are, how our country's handling the coronavirus. There are several countries that we call socialists that this country, people like on the left, like Nancy Pelosi, the establishment Democrats, and the Republicans have made fun of these countries as communists. You know, we get mocked as being commies and socialists, and just how, you know, look at socialism, you don't have anything on the shelves and blah, blah, blah. But the reality is much different. And also the reality in how they're handling this is much, much different. So Venezuela is one of these countries. Venezuela, of course, who we pretty much tried to insist a coup upon them, is handling the situation fairly well. So they suspended rent payments, and they're protecting wages as the coronavirus cases keep rising. And
to 77.
Yeah, right.
Look.
Yeah. And so not that they suspend the wages or that they suspend the rent payments, they already have Medicare for all, well, universal health care. In this case, they have universal health care. People are going to get their tests. They're already getting the medicine from Cuba, and they're getting help from these countries too. And that's what we're going to talk about. I mean, the fact that Maduro said, quote, he said he was going to use all his power and consciousness to protect jobs and the most vulnerable in society during the quarantine lockdown. While grassroots organizations such as the Tenants Movement applauded the measure, business leaders such as Alan Sells, president of the Venezuela Industry Confederation, claimed that they fall short. So here's the thing. He's offering to pretty much what Pasta wants. Freeze all these rents, freeze all these mortgages. And that is going to help the Venezuelan people far more than what our leaders are doing here.
And their left is complaining that they want more.
Yeah.
Their left is going, oh, nope, that's not enough. We got to do more for, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? But here's where we're at, where Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are working with the Republicans to give you bupkis, squadouche, and we're supposed to grin and bear it and be happy about it. Meanwhile, Venezuela, the country that we always seem to, you know, demonize. You got Jack Ryan out there working with the Russians. Yeah, they're working on with the Russians to get a bomb. No, to get coronavirus kits to test. That's what they're
and they have
doing.
Far less risk than we do. Yeah. And that's the
they're
funny
treating
part.
it seriously. 77 people and they're shutting shit down.
And they're on sanctions, and we've tried to put a coup, install a puppet in there.
Yeah,
all these things.
Juan Guaido isn't even the head of their party, and they're still kind of like, they're still praising.
Who doesn't know what sanctions means? I mean, it's like literally putting a hold on your bank account, and you're not allowed to use it. Basically.
Yeah. Yep. They're freezing their assets in other places. They still never got their gold back from the Western Bank in Great Britain. They are still not allowed to use money in transfers with their neighbors to buy supplies or anything else. So they're being crippled, and the sanctions always help hurt poor people. So you can imagine at a time like this with the coronavirus how hard and imposing it must be on a country like Venezuela. But yet, this is why Maduro's in power. This is the reason why his people will support him, because he says he's going to protect the most vulnerable at a time in need. When they have 77 people infected, we have 77 people infected on our fucking block, and we're getting ready to send people back out to work next week. The fuck out of here.
Exactly. And they're building beds. They're focusing on the hospital, right? And they're also doing house-to-house calls, which means that they're literally going and calling every house and talking to people directly. And they are supposed to receive about 2 million diagnostic tests in the next week. So you guys, this is it's insane. It's insane. And you know, they've actually managed to keep this down pretty well.
You know why they got that? They got good elections over there. That's why. Carter Institute says one of the best elections over there. Why.
Yeah, well,
representative
that's the thing.
Of the fucking people there.
But their elections weren't valid and ours were. So the head of the
right?
This is from Telesur. The head of the Venezuelan military has began on the ground assisting in the distribution of food boxes alongside armed forces personnel as the coronavirus quarantine continues.
Can we play this video?
Es un crimen. Es un crimen de lesa humanidad. Los Estados Unidos pretenden
So the United States is committing a crime. They're blocking. They're continuously blocking. Can you continue playing?
Nuestros alimentos,
our food, our supplies.
Ante eso, bueno, aquí está la revolución bolivariana y su
Here's the Bolivarian Revolution.
Los comités locales de abastecimiento y producción.
This is the food production. And yeah.
Un instrumento para proteger al pueblo. Ayer el presidente habló
This is a moment to protect the people.
Medidas, hay que prestarle atención. mucha atención, pero siempre va a estar la protección del pueblo. Y esta es una manera de hacerlo.
This is a way of protecting the people.
Haciendo en coordinación con el Ministerio de Alimentación en el marco de la gran misión Abastecimiento Soberano. Aquí está el comandante de la SODI Capital. Y
Just
esta
talking about that you know, we're here, the sovereignty of the people and the effort.
cajas CLAP van aquí a atender a 100 familias.
That these people are going to go attend to 100 families.
En la comunidad del Valle, 100 familias. Es la solidaridad de la Fuerza Armada.
It's the
Todo el
solidarity
unión
of the
cívico
armed forces.
militar. Solidaridad, solidaridad y más solidaridad. Unidos venceremos.
More solidarity, and together we will defeat this.
Vladimir Padrino.
Can I go join the Venezuelan army military?
I mean,
They're
it's
uplifting,
just,
aren't they? I
Yeah.
mean, they really are. It's like we're, the Bolivian revolution. I mean, they're
meanwhile, people are like price gouging necessary items in America because of capitalism. So terrible Venezuelans. I mean, they're just
they're
horrible.
awful.
I just
They're
can't
bad.
believe
Jack
it.
Ryan's gonna do it.
So this one's even worse because there's just a bunch of commies there in Cuba,
You
and
have this one here. You want to put this here?
no, that's Cuba.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And of course, Cubans are, we've sanctioned them. We've put an illegal
Blockaded.
embargo on them for years. But they managed to do really well. And one of the things they managed to do well is develop a really strong medical field. And their doctors are doing amazing things, not only in Italy, but they're going across Europe. And we might need them over here, to be honest, considering. So let's play this video because this one talks about how the doctors arrive in Italy to help combat the coronavirus pandemic. Oh, it's too fast. As the army prepares I think people can read it.
The Cuban doctors are already with our doctors here in the hospital. They're introduced. I'm sorry. We came here to help the Italian population in the COVID-19 related pandemic. As the situation is very difficult in Italy, we came with 50 specialized doctors. As the Army prepares the makeshift medical facilities in China, the Italian doctors are holding meetings with their Cuban colleagues. The Cuban doctors are already with our doctors here in the hospital. This is in Italy. They have introduced to the patient registration procedure and how to get around the hospital. So they already understand their settings. China and Russia are also sending medical staff to Bergamo, a hotspot for COVID-19 in Italy. Sorry about that,
It's interesting.
guys. My bad.
Well, I mean, I guess people can read, but it's Oh, okay.
My
Well,
bad. Good idea.
Yeah. So, but the whole point of that is that these nations like Russia, like Cuba,
China.
and China are all pretty much showing more solidarity with these countries and helping out and handling this situation much better than we are. And of course, the mainstream media isn't talking about it. The mainstream media is just alarming people and really providing zero solutions and no information. But we need to see how these other countries are handling this because it's honestly, it's telling us how we should be acting. Did you want to do some super chats?
Yeah, let's do some super chats because I haven't even done them. I'm so sorry. 310 people watching. We love you out there. Thank you for the super chat contribution from James H. Guess what, fam? It's always appreciated on this couch.
Mm-hmm.
Government wants us thinking, acting fast with little analysis coming our way.
Yep.
Omnibus bailout legislation during the crisis is evidence. Jim Garrison, thank you for the super chat contribution. As always, appreciated on the couch. $10 hazardous pay for fee and pasta. Thank you, Jim Garrison. We love you. That's awesome. Also in the super chat contributions, we want to say thank you to fam, your good friend, Princess Queen.
Princess Queen.
Milady.
Like
they need us. We need to demand change. Okay? It's our tax money,
Exactly.
our buying is what drives the entire economy. I'm done with the whole system. Princess Queen, I'm done with the whole system too. It is ridiculous. Ben Riley, thank you for the super chat contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. So they F us and they refuse to buy us dinner first month. Oh. Is that what that is? You guys got to teach me, okay, Boomer?
Okay, Boomer.
Okay.
Okay,
Hey,
Boomer.
look who it is. The Radical Independent Coffee Couch. Love you guys. Rock the truth. We need more than one-time payment of $1,200. Thank you, Dave Spurrier, the Radical Independent. He's also on ROKFIN. Check him out if you like. Appreciate the super chat contribution. It's always appreciated on the couch. And did I get them all?
I think so.
I think so.
Awesome. Okay.
All right, guys.
So another thing that Cuba is doing is, of course, sending their doctors. And here's a group of, is that the one we just did? Yeah. Okay. So Camila from Telesur is look, Cuba has a team of nurses, doctors, and lab technicians who will arrive tomorrow at the small Caribbean island of Dominica. A lot of people haven't been paying attention to Dominica, and they're going to provide this sort of expertise in handling the coronavirus. And they've already had 7 cases of COVID-19 and an island with a population of 70,000. So the problem with these small little islands, countries, is that even if we have the same amount of people infected, it's worse for them because they're in a smaller area. That's why you see a lot of infections in New York, because people are so close to each other there that it's like impossible to isolate yourself. If you live next to somebody in an apartment, you're going to see them at any way possible. And like a lot of New York, again, wasn't really taking things seriously up until the last minute. So
I got to say, this next thing you have up here from Redfish is amazing, fam. And I would like to read it. Can I? Yeah. I didn't mean to jump in your shit. All right, so that's the thing. But look at this right here. And
yeah, let's just play the video.
I'll play the video and then I'll do the next one. My bad.
Upon our request, the government of the Republic of Cuba will be sending 25 nurses, 6 doctors, and 4 lab technicians to assist with our efforts. They will arrive on our island this Thursday. We will do all in our power to minimize the spread of this virus and to attend to the needs of those who have contracted the virus. Our healthcare officials are motivated and are up to the task. This is their area of specialty, and we shall take our cue from them. Whatever reinforcements they require, we shall endeavor to provide.
Okay.
Pretty awesome.
So yeah.
Man.
So they're sending help everywhere.
Yeah. This next one by Redfish, man, I love this too because I remember the Chavista Revolutionary Army. Like I'd always think, all right, they're really going hard for a coup in Venezuela. How are they going to prevent it? Well, the citizens have like kind of like militias where they kind of go and they report and they do drills and they act as a force, you know, as one to help the situation in their country. But now in Cuba, I've always liked and been intrigued by this because my friend who's been to Cuba many times says, Pasta, there's so many people who are like, they have 2 different, forms of education. They're being educated as a doctor, but they're also working as a cab driver. In other words, they teach a lot of people. They have a lot of people have, a lot of education there. And, that's when Bernie Sanders got in trouble for trying to talk about the education, which I think he should have been like, F you, Cuba's doing really good. Well, Cuban medical students have been trained and sent by the government to work as preventative force against the coronavirus. They're going door to door across Cuba, reporting, isolating, treating cases of those experiencing symptoms of the COVID-19 to prevent the spread early on. This is amazing. Like, if we didn't hoard our education and make it so hard for some people to become doctors and give them information, it's about information, right, fam?
Right.
It's hoarding information. Well, if we were to educate our society to be doctors and, lawyers and other things as well, and not make it crippling for them and put them into debt and society as slaves, then we can do something like this. We can have citizens who are citizen doctors who are out there looking, helping, finding. What they're doing in Cuba right now is amazing. And we need to look at it right now. We need to see it. And people have to understand that socialism isn't necessarily that bad. It has a lot of good.
Bad at all.
It's got a lot of great things about it. I think it all boils down to leadership. And people always want to chastise, what's his name, Castro, and say he was awful. But look at the society he's built. And I'm not saying the man hasn't done awful things. I'm sure he does. All leaders have to do awful things. But look at the society he's built, where he's got students, medical students, going out and acting as an army of doctors to help the spread. That is amazing.
Well, yeah, and also, as far as the medical field goes, in the United States, being a doctor is a very difficult thing to do. You have to take out $300,000 in student loans, and then you have to go through a process of 10 years at least to become a doctor, and it's just a lot of hoops. And they made it more accessible and found a way to make it more attainable in Cuba. And it's not as elitist. The doctors are more up until a certain point, and some people who, some of our progressive doctors that actually care about providing Medicare for all, up until a certain point, they're of a certain class that has benefited from, obviously, the income inequality and the insurance companies. And I think we could learn something from Cuba, not necessarily saying that what doctors do isn't valuable, but it shouldn't just be valued by money. I mean, if we were going to value that, we should pay teachers almost as much as we pay doctors, right? And that's something that I think we could learn from Cuba, and kind of, they've had so much advancement in the medical field that we haven't even talked about, like cancer treatments, and they were forced to do this because we pretty much made it impossible for them to go anywhere else. Yeah. So
I think this is the one you have next. I think it's truly, truly amazing what they're doing. And I really think that we need a society that really reflects a lot what they do. We're in it together, right? It's a pandemic. Yeah. We're in it together. We need to act, think, and work together. And we're not. We're split. We have an uber capitalist system where everybody's at each other's throat. And everybody's judged by what toys they accomplish or goals they accomplish financially rather than what they do for society. It's terrible. We need to get back to this here, and Cuba's setting the fucking great example.
So Russia, of course, is the third country we're going to talk about, because Russia has been vilified, of course, since McCarthyism of the 1950s, and of course through Russiagate, revamped entirely for the century, and we need to fight against that as well. But the reality is, Russia may have problems with Putin as a leader. He may not be somebody that we agree with all the time. He may be authoritarian in a lot of senses, but the reality is Russia is another nation that's handling this really well, and they are doing so much for other people as well. So let's look at this video by Rupley again.
Cosa ne pensa degli aiuti che sono arrivati all'Italia da paesi come Cina, Russia?
Journalists, what do you think the aid that came from Italy from? Countries like China, Russia, Cuba, are they welcome in hand? For me, yes, it's a welcome hand, because Italy has been left alone for me. They did good. It is right to help each other in this instance. I'm sorry, I'm trying to glare. We'll be ready to help other countries when the need arises. We too will be ready to help other countries when the need arises. Aid is starting to arrive, but maybe it began arriving a bit late. This is a Milan resident. If it had started arriving weeks earlier, we may have begun seeing results by now. It has of course been missing. When Germany and France need help, we're always there for them. When it's the opposite, not so much. Where's the EU? Yes, it has. Non-European aid has been greater. Yes, it has. And this is than aid that came from within the EU community. So once again, what they're saying is that the EU, with all their fucking austerity measures and the way they fucking put people in austerity, while Italy said, fuck you, okay, but here we go. Now we have a situation where we have a pandemic, and there's no help from the EU.
Right.
The help's coming from China, Russia, Cuba.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
And what was the EU set up for?
To help Europe, to protect Europe, to be one with Europe.
And the evil people, China, Russia, are helping everybody.
Oh, yeah.
They're
the ones. Yeah.
Evil people.
Yeah, I mean, here's the reality, guys. Like, everything's coming out, everything's falling apart, and the fictitious, they're evil and we're just so innocent theater that they've put out, that this country and, of course, the Western part of Europe has put out, is being proven to be false. And we just have to pay attention and not buy this media narrative that these people are evil, when look at how they're handling the situation far, far better than how we are. So there's also this drone footage of Russia, because guess what Russia's doing? They're building new hospitals. And that's something we're not even doing. You know, we're pretty much struggling on that right now. And yeah, they're just building new hospitals in Russia.
Okay, so there's no sound there, guys. It's visuals. What? Oh, no, it's Glakostavo, Russia.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing is they're doing construction of a new hospital for coronavirus. They're taking it serious. This construction's going up quick. It's going up fast. They're going to contain it.
And Russia is also helping. This is from Glory Jones. She said they sent medical equipment over to Italy, effectively helping them more than NATO and the EU, as what we just said, which allegedly tried to block some of the shipments when going through Poland. So, because the EU, this is a classic response of the establishment. They don't want to look bad. They don't want to look like, you know, they're completely inept, which they are. So they're going to, instead of helping them, block the shipments of help just because they're getting help from the other side, the East, you know, from the enemies. And
well, I'm sure there's sanctions, right, on China and Russia or something, you know? Or...
Yeah. So they're trying to. That's what they do in Poland. Poland's got that big conservative kind of government that's going to listen and step lock, stock, and barrel with the West. So you know what I'm saying. So of course they're going to stop. Oh, Chinese stuff can't go through. Oh, you know what I'm saying. And of course, I mean it's just typical fucking bullshit from the Western governments, the EU, NATO. They can all eat a big plate of sausages or Richards. So, I mean. We got a cool video next, right? This is my favorite video. This sums it up right here. So, grazie, Russia. And it's a man who has an Italian flag and an EU flag. He's rolling it up, the EU flag. He's rolling it up, and you hear this beautiful Italian music going.
Sounds British.
Okay, now he puts it down. Thumbs down for the EU flag, and he brings it inside. And now he grabs something and he's coming out. What's it? Cue the Russian music. And he has a sign that says, Grazie Putin, grazie Russia. And he has a Russian flag in his hand and he puts it near the Italian flag.
Oh, God.
You know what? I always say that I want to go to Italy.
You
I
guys...
can't wait until they get things under control over there.
Well,
because I like to go to Italy and Russia. Those are the two places I want to go to first.
You would?
Yeah, I do. I want to go see Russia. I want to see what it's all about. I mean, Italy because that's my homeland, obviously, and you know.
Yeah, right.
Watch it.
I've been to Italy. It's beautiful.
I know. Everybody says it's the best place to go to.
It's really, really beautiful. Lots of wine, but this is funny. Because it's just blatant, and I wish we could show that video like on CNN, just hack it and just show like how inept the West has been in dealing with the coronavirus. Because it's like it's not a national, it's like international thing of how the West has handled it versus how places like China, Russia, Cuba are handling it, how they're putting us all to shame. And it's funny that the United States and the Western empires don't want this to be seen. And Boris Johnson isn't handling things well either. So this is a Western issue. And I think there's so much that we could learn from these countries.
Bojo.
So, absolutely. So shifting over now to Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is reportedly not dropping out, and he's going to participate in the next Democratic debate. He told, according to the New York Times, he was gonna go in the next debate, and he was gonna continue.
Yeah.
On the next debate. But in response to this, though, Joe Biden actually said that he was not interested in this. He said that he basically
unlikely to attend April debate with Senator Bernie Sanders. Yeah. I think we had enough debates, and this is going to mimic what they did in 2016 at the California debate. I remember I was gearing up for that California debate. And they just canceled it at that point. Once they got their lead and their delegates,
right,
they just start shutting shit down. And that, to me, is the biggest chicken shit freaking thing you could do. Because when people avoid debates, when they avoid discourse, that's the first sign that they're hiding and they're not being honest because they don't want to talk about their positions.
Yeah,
straight up.
But it's just funny because Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders have only had one debate, like together. So he's saying he's done with debates. He's had enough of these debates. Like, okay, you've had one with Bernie Sanders. It's so funny that now that it's proven he can't really handle his stuff, now he doesn't want to have any debates. I mean, it doesn't get more obvious than that. And I think they said they were going to have a total of 12 debates, and they've had 11. So they would need one more technically before they actually shut it down. So
well, the Democrats with their rules and their debates, they can change it anytime they want. People can qualify for debate. They could just shut them and not let them in. So really, to tell you the truth, they'll do whatever they want. They've gotten away with cheating and changing the rules every single fucking time. They're going to do it here too as well. They're not going to get, I would like to see Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden go at it again too as well. And hopefully Bernie Sanders, well, once again, hoping that he would take the gloves off, when Biden was like, you got 9 superpox, and he's just lying. You know what I'm saying? There's a big difference between Donald Trump's hypocrisy and Joe Biden's hypocrisy, because Donald Trump's, you just know he's fucking full of shit all the time. Joe Biden's hypocrisy is completely hypocritical. You know what I'm saying? It's like he's fucking, no, Joe, that's not true at all. I mean, you're just out there completely fucking lying about this bullshit, even if you are alive.
So, so Joe Biden is...
He's a mutant, fam.
Joe Biden...
He's plugged in.
Joe Biden is sick. He's also mentally, like, not there. And so, I'll show you in a minute. He's been coughing nonstop. So the Atlantic did a really nice article titled "Stay Alive, Joe Biden. Democrats need little from the frontrunner beyond his corporal presence." And that's basically it. They're pretty much urging him to stay alive. They're pretty much saying it doesn't matter what he says or what he does. They're just going to keep pushing Biden until he gets the full nomination and
nice.
and
Way
that's
to fit
that.
in, Johnny.
But it's funny because let me just read a little bit of this. On television, this concern with packaged as a focus on, quote, electability, but out in the country itself, it was something deeper and more emotional than that dispassionate term implies. Democrats, some independents and some Republicans too, were terrified and furious at the prospect of another 4 years of Trump. And as the weeks of the primary season ticked on, it became clear that there was one option to forestall the possibility, and his name was Joe Biden. So... It's just hilarious. Oh, here it is. So this is the part I really, really want to get to. Biden's team appears to understand this and to believe that what matters most now is keeping their candidate alive in the American imagination as an alternative to Trump. His appearances these days have an almost parallel universe quality to them. Biden's audience-less remarks from his home in Delaware have the suggestion of an Oval Office address, and their content seems intended to offer a glimpse into the twilight zone where when someone more empathetic and more capable is president. It's as if Biden is telegraphing to his public, you have already imagined that I can beat Trump. Now imagine what it will be like when I am president. So these people are lying to themselves and pretty much saying, yeah, Joe Biden's doing great. He's doing these appearances, which we're going to go over in a minute. These videos are so important for you guys to watch because these videos are worrisome. They literally show you just how awful it is. And
but didn't they already show how awful and stupid this guy was beforehand? Nobody really expected this guy to fucking come out of this.
But the media
I
just ignores it.
Yeah.
and
Well, the
they're
media is part of it.
Too.
They're part of the propaganda.
Right.
Part of engineering elections is the media doing their part to prop up a candidate on no specific policies whatsoever. Just talk all bunch of rhetoric, make him look good. That's what they do because they're part of the propaganda piece. It's like Noam Chomsky talks. He says, listen, I go after the liberal media. You know why? Because the Republican media, the right-wing media, it's different. They say all these crazy things, whatnot. The liberal media, they're the ones that are more nefarious. They're the ones that are more sinister because they're the ones who are more highly educated liberals who will twist things and put things that sound good and make it seem right and make it seem okay. But it's not. And that's what they did with Joe Biden, and they snuck him past. Well, I mean, I don't still believe you can't convince me, fam, that he won these elections, but that's beside the point. There is a part of conditioning that the media takes place in, and you'll see as we come along and watch this stuff, where they play a part, and they play a part of conditioning the people, along with the rigged numbers, to even condition them even further. Like, oh my God, Biden's the only one who could beat Trump. Look at the last election. So it's just a fucking CIA mechanism just hitting you left and right. That's why you got to come subscribe to the Convo Cast.
Obviously, fam.
Right,
so, thank you for your TED Talk.
I listen to your TED Talks.
So Biden, is sick. Like, people can completely deny that, but if you watch these videos, you're going to see just how sick he is.
Good evening, everyone.
And dumb as well.
And all Americans should be grateful to the Speaker's leadership, and for Minority Leader Schumer's leadership. We're going to work in the direction of making sure that we make sure that everyone, in fact, has access to education. I've endorsed the loss of that you would have, in fact, any doctor's bill you have. But even I can't do that for another a year between now and November. Or actually January. They can't build any factories or anything within 1 mile of the estuary of the Delaware River and the Atlantic Ocean and the Chesapeake. And so the whole point of this is that we can do a lot to deal with endangered species. We have to take care of the cure. That will make the problem worse no matter what. Why doesn't he just act like a president? That's a stupid way to say it.
You know, Donald Trump was asked on...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, probably best I don't. I just can't figure the guy. It's like watching a yo-yo. I shouldn't have said it that way. It's like watching.
It feels that way. I want to ask.
We need to activate the reserve corps of doctors and nurses and beef up the number of responders dealing with these crush of cases. And in addition to that, we have to make sure that we are in a position that we are. Well, let me go to the second thing. I've spoken enough of that. We can make a personal productive equipment. Look, here's the deal. We have to do what we did in the 40s and the 20s, the 2020s, tending to our elderly loved ones. This is the United States of America. Thank you all for listening. Oh. Thanks. Okay.
So that wasn't the video where he's coughing, but that was the video that was showing that he can't do interviews. Joe Biden cannot do interviews.
6-year-old fam. It's I'm like.
Yeah, he really.
You're gonna really tell me that America voted for this fucking clown here? And seriously, I mean, I don't know anybody I convince to say that Joe Biden is better than Donald Trump. I mean, look at this. I mean, I can't even convince anybody of that. You want to give the establishment power again? Get the fuck out of here.
I think one of the reasons why Joe Biden pretty much disappeared for a while was because he was sick and they're trying to cover it up. And, you know, they did a whole like green screen thing. And just this is some of it is the same as before, but the majority of it is when he had his interview on CNN, and he needed to learn how to cough. So let's just play it.
Virus. I have not been tested for the coronavirus. I've had, thank God, no symptoms that I'm aware of. Doesn't mean that can't happen.
Up for the next round of primaries, including.
I've not talked to any individual. Excuse me.
You know, you're supposed to cough into your elbow. I don't know, sir. I learned that actually covering your White House.
Actually, that's true. But fortunately, I'm alone in my home. But that's okay.
Vice President Biden, thank you so much for your time. Please stay healthy.
For keeping businesses shut.
We have to take care of the cure. That will make the problem worse no matter what.
And what is it like to be a candidate in the time of social distancing?
Well, I'm doing fine, thank you. And I think we've been
public. But first of all, in this crisis, spoke earlier. He's talking.
And I tell you what, I'm so darn proud. And those poor people who have lost, anyway, it's just, My heart goes out to them.
No. Listen, we have to make a choice about who leads this country.
I just can't figure the guy. I don't know. It's like watching a yo-yo. I shouldn't have said it that way. It's like watching.
It feels that way. I want to ask. It's okay. About the reporting in the New York Floyd to Home Alone with children.
Why doesn't he just act like a president? That's a stupid way to say it.
You know,
I guess,
Donald Trump was asked on.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I probably best I don't.
So now you're coughing like Joe Biden. Okay.
Why don't you just go away?
So yeah, I think he's obviously not mentally fit anymore. I think he's obviously not healthy. He doesn't look it. He's not acting like it. And these are the problems that Joe Biden has to deal with. And another problem of Joe Biden's is that he puts his foot in his mouth all the time. And I think it's because he's confused, because I thought he was running for president to beat Donald Trump. But now he's saying that Donald Trump's got this. So according to Matt Visor, Joe Biden on President Trump rising approval rating numbers, he said, well, I hope that he does. He's so strong that he's up way above that because we need the help now. We need help now. He's praising Donald Trump. And in another article, he spoke about how he didn't really want to attack Donald Trump on the coronavirus. Now, I get it. We are trying to solve the problem. We are trying to give aid to people. But at the same time, he's been praising Donald Trump in a way that just doesn't seem like he's really, really in it.
Yeah, didn't he have a comment when he said with the vice president has to be somebody who's prepared to take over early too?
Yes, that's what we covered the other day.
Right? Yeah. So I mean, he's already kind of like
he has one foot out the door.
You just took the words out of my mouth.
I know, fam.
Wow.
I know. It's okay.
That's why we're partners. Convo couch, share the same brain.
Oh my God. I hope not. Jeez.
I know, right? So you have more.
So
Sorry,
another thing that I wanted to talk about was something Donald Trump can attack him on, right? Because we know that Donald Trump can attack him from the left on NAFTA. He can attack him from the left on Social Security. He can attack him from the left when it comes to trade and even foreign policy.
Yeah.
Okay. So he can attack him from the left on all these things. And he can, of course, use the impeachment trial, and he will, as a means of making fun of the entire Democratic establishment. And he'd be right on that. But another thing he's going to use, as well as the media and how they've, completely ignored the issues with Trump, is this new accusation against Joe Biden. And the accusation isn't necessarily new, but it's just come fully forward and fully out. And Katie Halper interviewed this woman who allegedly was raped by Donald Trump. So by Joe Biden. Yeah. Well, one guy, one pedophile, one rapist over the other. It's hard to keep track. But Katie Halper did a great job on this story. And her name is Alexandra Reade. And she has been trying to tell her story since it happened in 1993. And it's a story about sexual assault, retaliation, and silencing. And before we go into the video, I'm kind of going to read through this thread because it's important that you guys know some of the background. So Tara had tried to come forward with a part of her story after the Lucy Flores accusation of Biden of touching her inappropriately. Reade was one of the 7 other women to share their own stories about Biden. And Reade told reporters about the way he would put his hands on her shoulders, run his fingers up and down her neck. She considered talking about the rest of the story, but didn't because of her claims of sexual harassment, got her doxxed and smeared as a Russian agent. And this thing right here is what irritated me the most, because this is what the Democratic establishment does to women if you don't fit their mold of supporting Bill Clinton, Joe Biden, Epstein, and all of these nefarious men that have so much power. They completely say, believe women unless it's one of these guys that they protect. And that goes out to Alyssa Milano as well, who has been talking about how Joe Biden is so amazing, even during these moments, and it's completely ignored this accusation. Completely ignored it. And
Joe Biden is a friend.
Exactly. So
Alyssa Milano.
Reade tried to come forward again, right? And she tried to come forward to Time's Up Now. Time's Up is, of course, the Me Too organization. And Ryan Grimm reported this on The Intercept. The organization said they couldn't help her because Biden was a candidate for federal office and supporting a case against him could jeopardize the nonprofit status. Wow, that's terrible. Grimm also pointed out that the public relations firm that works on behalf of Time's Up, their legal defense fund, is SKD Knickerbocker. And the managing director, Anita Dunn, is the top advisor to Biden's presidential campaign. So there you go. That's the rabbit hole connection. Not surprisingly, there were no witnesses to the alleged sexual assault, but Tara's brother and her good friend, each of whom I've spoken with, recall being told about the assault by Tara at the time. This is a story that should have been looked into. Tara reached out to countless people to try to get her story. Nobody, not even the one organization that was made to support women like her. So... wow. So let's just hear some of this. It's just a warning, that she's describing some graphic things for you guys who don't know about it. And then we'll do.
I'm about to play an excerpt from an interview that I did with Tara Reade. The full episode will be up shortly. As a warning, Tara discusses sexual assault during this interview. Tara was one of 8 women to accuse Joe Biden of some form of inappropriate touching last spring, after Nevada politician Lucy Flores that the vice president inappropriately touched her during her run for Congress. Tara told journalists that in 1993, when she was a staff assistant to then Senator Biden, he put his hands on her shoulders and rubbed his fingers up and down her neck. But Tara says there's more to her story, and she considered telling it last spring. But after coming forward and being smeared as a Russian agent and being doxxed, she did not. We now know from Ryan Grimm's 324 article on The Intercept, Tara did try to come forward once again in January of 2020. Tara turned to Time's Up, the nonprofit dedicated to helping women in the post-Me Too world tell their story. But Time's Up, Ryan Grimm reports, was concerned such a political story involving a potential presidential candidate could affect their nonprofit status. So here, Tara finally tells the rest of the story that she hasn't been able to tell in the past. Not surprisingly, there are no witnesses to Tara's story of alleged assault, but Tara's brother and Tara's close friend, both of whom I spoke to, recall Tara telling them about the incident at the time. Here is an excerpt. I'll be releasing the full interview shortly, and this opens with Tara describing a superior calling her into her office to ask her to do an errand. So she says that she
called me in and said, I want you to take this to Joe. He wants it. He wants you to bring it. Hurry. And I said, okay. And it was a gym bag. She said, take the gym bag. She called it athletic bag. And, she said he was down towards the Capitol and he'll meet you. And so I went down and I was heading down towards there. And he was at first talking to someone. I could see him at a different distance, and then they went away. And then we were in like the side. It was like the side area. And he just said, hey, come here, Tara. And then I handed him the thing and he greeted me. He remembered my name. And then we were alone, and it was the strangest thing. There was no like exchange really. He just had me up against the wall. And I was wearing like a skirt and, business skirt, but I wasn't wearing stockings. It was kind of a hot day that day, and I was wearing heels. And I remember my legs had been hurting from the marble, of the Capitol, like walking. And I remember that kind of stuff. I remember like I was wearing a blouse, and he just had me up against the wall, and the wall was cold. And I remember it happened all at once. The gym bag, I don't know where it went. I handed it to him, it was gone. And then his hands were on me and underneath my clothes. And and then he went down my skirt, but then up inside it. And he penetrated me with his fingers, whatever. And he was kissing me at the same time, and he was saying something to me. He said several things, and I can't remember everything he said. I remember a couple of things. I remember him saying first, before, like as he was doing it, do you want to go somewhere else? And then him saying to me, when I pulled away, he got finished doing what he was doing, and I kind of was pulled back, and he said, come on, man, I heard you liked me. And it's that phrase stayed with me because I kept thinking what I might have said. And I can't remember exactly if he said I thought or if I heard, but it's like he implied like that I had done this, like, I don't know. And for me, it was like everything shattered in that moment, because I knew like we were alone. It was over, right? He wasn't trying to do anything more, but I looked up to him. He was like my father's age. He was this champion of women's rights in my eyes. And I couldn't believe it was happening. It seemed surreal. And I just felt sick because when he pulled back, he looked annoyed. And he said something else to me that I don't want to say. And then he said, I must have looked shocked. And he grabbed me by the shoulders. I don't know how I looked, but I must have looked something, because he grabbed me by the shoulders and he said, "You're okay. You're fine. You're okay. You're fine." And then he walked away and he went on with his day. And what I remember next is being in the Russell building, like where the big windows are, and the stairs by myself. And my body, I was shaking everywhere and it was cold all of a sudden. And I don't know, I felt like I was shaking just everywhere. And I was trying to grasp what had just happened and what I should do or what I should say. But I knew.
Okay. So that's what she explains obviously happened. And of course, if we look into how she tried to reach out, and these organizations like Time's Up, who literally are the quote unquote beacon of the Me Too movement, pretty much just dismissed her, and then of course framed her as a Russian agent. I mean, if she had an illegitimate case, they might have just said, okay, well, let's look into this and we'll figure it out. But of course, the Democratic Party doesn't do much. And I wanted to just play the last part where she talks about what he said that she didn't want to mention, which is really important, because this is what not people in positions of power, but specifically these men and these politicians, whether they're producers, directors, politicians, they have this is about power. It is about power. And Joe Biden is a guy who may look senile, who may look, incapable now. But there was a moment when he was a very powerful man, and when he stood there talking, about cutting people's Social Security so brazenly and arrogantly. And this is the Joe Biden this is why it irks me when people like Bernie Sanders say Joe Biden is my friend. When people like Tulsi Gabbard say Joe Biden has a good heart. This is why, because that's the Joe Biden that I look at. And the whole point of this is that Donald Trump is going to throw this in the faces of the Democrats and be like, oh, you guys accuse me of sexual assault and all of this, and I was talked about how I'm a sexist, and look at what Joe Biden did. Look at what Uncle Joe did. Yeah. I'm telling you, he's going to use this, and I mean, obviously it's there for him to use. So,
and despite any differences, Fee, amen to what you just said, both of them. He's my friend. He's got a good heart. Bullshit. Enough with this fucking Democratic Party for once. Enough. There is some serious work to do moving forward, not with just our elections, but forming a third party and getting away from this cancerous party, the Democratic Party. All of them, the Schumers, the Pelosi's, and now Joe Biden, whose dementia and his sick habits. I would say something if it was just one situation where you go, okay, that's one situation. He's claiming his innocence, okay? But there's 8 situations now, 8 different women, just like Trump, just like Clinton. Enough with these fucking people. I'm so sorry. The last part of what he says, and then we'll read some super chats.
It was bad because he was so angry. Like when he left, like I could feel, how when someone's angry, they don't necessarily have to say anything. Like he smiles when he's angry, and you can just feel it emanating from him. Like,
do you want to share that thing that you said you don't like? You said like I don't want to say what he said. That thing he said to you.
Yeah, I can. I guess I could.
I mean, you don't have to.
It's okay. It's just it's almost like giving a weapon to them.
How so?
Well, it's like I don't want them to know how much it hurt. I don't, I don't want him to know when I don't know, but
that you remembered it.
Yeah, just I don't know. But I can say it. There was something he said that I didn't want to say, and I didn't want to say it because it's the thing that stays in my head over and over, and it's a thing that kind of stayed with me over the years. But he said, when he had me against the wall after I pulled away, and he had said, hey, come on, I heard you liked me. And I knew he was angry right after he took his finger. He just pointed at me and he said, you're nothing to me. And then he just looked at me and he goes, you're nothing. And then I must have reacted. And I think he only said it twice. I said, but I just heard the word nothing. And I must have reacted because that's when he took me by the shoulders and he said, you're okay. You're fine. You're okay. But then afterwards, like, it kept replaying in my head. And like last April when.
Yeah. So, you're nothing, telling somebody that, that they're nothing, after you do something like that is obviously, it just shows you. I mean, this isn't the first time I've seen, the accusations against Joe Biden. And like, again, a lot of those things, with Lucy Flores, a lot of those things could have seen as dismissive or minuscule. But the reality is he has other women accusing him besides Lucy Flores. He has this woman now and then others. And you can see in his behavior with women how he's treated them. And that's something that, people like Bernie Sanders won't ever touch, which is it sucks because he should. Absolutely. You don't want to endorse, like, people are saying now on Twitter, how can Bernie endorse this guy who has sexually assaulted women? How can Tulsi do that? Like, I mean, this is not okay. This is not okay. It doesn't matter if you want him to beat Donald Trump. This is not okay. And by endorsing him, you guys are dismissing that. Yeah. All of the people who are ready to endorse Joe Biden when the time comes.
And this woman, it really just, I got chills when she just said why she didn't want to say that thing. And I remember
you can just hear it in her voice.
Terrible. It's, the scared because I remember somebody really, really close to me who had an abusive father. And when we talked about it and that person opened up to me about it, I said, well, didn't you cry? And that woman said, no, I would never cry because I didn't want to give my father the satisfaction of knowing what he was doing to me. And I'll never forget that. It just brings you to tears to think about, what they had to go through. Yeah. And once again, this is one of 8 women. And there's like serious proof of Joe Biden, the way he touches women, the way he smells women, the way he tried to bite his wife's finger and all this other shit. This creepy. I mean, it's just all creepy. Over the fucking place. So when these people who say he's my friend or he has a good heart, I mean, don't you understand that? Like, I understand the system that we have is so fucking terrible, but I mean, you got to understand the repercussions that come with it when you're going to stand behind a man like Joe Biden. Amongst all his policies, that's awful, and the war hawk he is. And he was the first one to talk about building a fence. I'm the guy who wanted to build a fence. And believe me, they're bringing in bad people. And this was Joe Biden way before Donald Trump ever said this shit.
Yep.
Thank you for the super chat contribution, Keith M. It is always appreciated on the couch. Oh, man, I'm freaking listening to that woman's voice. I feel bad inside. If Biden passed away before November, they just stuff the corpse, prop it up behind the podium, and move his mouth with a remote control. A puppet's puppet, Joe Biden is. Keith M.,
I like
you
that.
can't say it. A puppet's puppet, my brother. Absolutely. Thank you for that super chat contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. I know I got another one in here, fam. People are giving us money. The monarch. Let them see the wrath of the monarch. Thank you for the super chat contribution. It's always appreciated on the couch. I guess you guys never watch Venture Brothers. Enough is enough. DNC and MSN are pushing Biden to his deathbed. Fee and pasta. Do you think these elites are attempting to 4th-degree murder Biden?
Well, yeah, they might. I think they know that they're going to lose to Trump, and they don't care. They don't care. At this point, you'd have to be that stupid, and I don't think they're that stupid. No. I think they're just that arrogant, and they think that they're going to be fine because until now, they've been fine. They've been able to continuously dupe people, be duplicitous, be like duplicitous, and be, these evil people that get away with it because people are always pushed against the wall, literally, when they're like, oh, you have to vote for Biden because you don't want Trump and we need to unite the party and blah, blah, blah. So again, I get like so angry when I hear any sort of a progressive, if Joe Biden's the nominee, I'm prepared to, and a lot of people are now like saying, oh, he's a presumptive nominee, we have to unite. Like a lot of these people, even AOC, I've heard say she will vote for Joe Biden. Like, I hope that knowing this new information about what he's did and, and having all of these accusations and all of these things showing him how senile he is and how he's unhealthy, I hope that changes the mind of some of them, because if it doesn't, I swear to God, I will never vote Democrat again. I mean, this is disgusting. I will not be okay seeing the most progressive of our Congress and even Bernie Sanders and all of these people say, yeah, Joe Biden is a good guy. He's not as bad as Trump. No, guys, he's worse because you guys have like created this whole idea and have bought into it and have perpetuated the idea that he is an innocent man, that he's just regular old Uncle Joe, when the reality is just Trump is more upfront about who he is. He's just upfront. Yeah. And Joe Biden is again, he's a hypocrite. He hides behind this image that he really doesn't have.
His hypocrisy is much more hypocritical. But anyways, that's just a matter of opinion. And that's what the Katie Halper said.
Hi,
I'm kind of just repeating her. Yes. And Rocky, I have another XX shirt. Does your son wear XX or XXX? Let me know. We want to send out a shirt. We haven't been able to go pick up other shirts because of the coronavirus. But I do have a shirt, and I wanted to send it out to you because I saw your son. Maybe he'll wear a Convo Couch shirt. But thank you for coming on the ROKFIN. Johnny has a picture up of Joe Biden and Elliot Abrams. Elliot Abrams is the butcher in who's handling the ground game as far as planning of what to do in Venezuela. This guy has been a fucking crook and a thief. Really? It looks like Elliot Abrams. Almost. Does it not? It almost looks exactly like Elliot Abrams. Well, it's a puppet. So is Elliot Abrams. So is Joe Biden. But thank you so much, guys, for the Super Chat contribution. And thank you for watching on the ROKFIN. We appreciate you over there as well. Fam, what else do we got?
So Bernie Sanders is another problem that obviously Joe Biden has, because Bernie Sanders has been every single day, live streaming, right?
Yeah.
He's been talking about how we need to deal with this crisis. He's been talking about what he would do. And Bernie Sanders is also, in 2005, he explained why drug firms should not make a profit from a pandemic. So again, Bernie Sanders was ahead of his time in politics forever. You can always find a video, like I said, a video where there's Joe Biden and Bernie standing up against something Joe Biden is saying. And I think people are realizing that. Like, the problem is, of course, we have a rigged system. So even if people do realize that, is it going to be enough to overtake what is happening, especially when places like New York are still trying to have the election, when they're not giving everybody vote by mail, which is what they should do, at least give everybody the option of doing that. And of course, have a more secure way of tracking vote by mail, because you can actually track the mail and the signatures and all of that. So that could be something that we could do that might work to Bernie's benefit. But the reality is, people are so focused on the pandemic. This is why he's focused on it as well. So I guess we can play it.
Perhaps Mr. Duncan was right in suggesting that we may be overreacting, but I believe that the American people want us to be safe rather than sorry. I think they will forgive us if we end up doing things and spending money that in the long run may turn out not to be necessary, if in fact we are going forward vigorously to prevent what could be a horrible, horrible situation. I think we all remember or read that in 1918, some 50 million people in this world died from an influenza epidemic, and I think it is beholden upon our country and governments throughout the world to do everything that we can in every way to protect the American people and people throughout the world. I think Mr. Kucinich a moment ago raised some very important issues, and the issue is that our job as the government of the United States of America is not to worry at this moment about the corporate profits of the Roche Company or any other drug company, but to make certain that we are doing all that we can to prepare for what could be a terrible pandemic. I hope that in that context, we can all agree that now is not the time to be tiptoeing around intellectual property rights or for letting bald-faced profiteering inhibit our ability to prepare for a pandemic. Roche is the only company with a license to manufacture and sell Tamiflu in the United States. They have limited production capacity and simply cannot make enough Tamiflu to meet the demand. The World Health Organization says that it will take 10 years for Roche to adequately supply world demand for Tamiflu stockpiles. We don't have 10 years. Unfortunately, Roche has also been dragging its feet about licensing other manufacturers to mass produce it. So, Mr. Secretary, you come from an administration where most of the American people know bends over backwards to protect large multinational corporations, whether it's drug companies or oil companies. Now is not the time to worry about the profits or campaign contributions. Now is the time to protect the American people.
Yep. There we go. So there's Bernie Sanders pretty much speaking truth to power and pretty much like he knew what was going to happen, right? Because I mean, we had what? We've had the SARS, we've had the avian flu, we've had all these scares, and Tamiflu, again, just to remind you, is one of the drugs that Daniel Day Kim mentioned helped him out a lot. And of course, we have never been prepared. I mean, our healthcare system alone kept us unprepared.
Yeah.
And the last thing that Joe Biden has that's an issue is that he's not really going to fight. And I think
wanted
we
to
already
say something real quick about
yep.
that last film, because also too, let's not forget too as well. Guess who he was echoing and who was in the chamber with him? Dennis Kucinich.
Yeah,
Once again, the dream team. Back in the day, these guys were ahead of everything when it came to healthcare, and they know what the hell's fucking going on. So these two were once again on the floor years ago, screaming about this.
Yeah, two of very few people. And I think we already mentioned this. Biden said, I don't want to be in a political fight with Trump over coronavirus. And again, he doesn't want to fight. He's asking people to replace him. And he said here, quote, I have not been criticizing the president, but I have been pointing out where there is a disagreement on how to proceed. And he told this on the ABC's The View. The coronavirus is not his fault, but the lack of speed with which to respond to has to move much faster. This is not about Democrat or Republican. This is not about what your party is. It's about getting through this. So, yes, he's right about that. However, he doesn't look like he's a strong contender against Donald Trump, obviously, in addition to everything else that he has been lacking in. Any other super chats?
No, that's it for the super chats. And
I just really quickly, I just want to show this picture of McDonald's, because you know how the neoliberals, it just shows the definition of neoliberalism, because the neoliberals love symbolic bullshit.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. McDonald's has separated their arches. McDonald's has separated their arches, Pasta, to show solidarity. Okay.
The definition of neoliberalism, by the way, is a form of liberalism that is friendly to the free market capitalism.
Right.
Like fucking McDonald's. Thank God they separated their arches.
Oh, that's beautiful. At least they're showing unity and solidarity in the coronavirus. Meanwhile, they're estimated workers without paid sick leave. Look at that compared to everybody else. They're even beating Walmart.
Well, they're not beating Subway and Burger King and Pizza Hut. I don't go to those places.
So there you go. And
Taco Bell is beating McDonald's 77%.
So Bernie Sanders, of course, did a tweet about it, and that's the thing. Like it's disgusting. This is the neoliberalism in a nutshell. We're not going to do anything to actually fix the economy or fix anything, but we're just going to make you feel good.
Yeah.
And that's going to help solve your problems and pay your rent.
It just really sucks what we're fucking facing right now, too, as well, with this whole, Tulsi kind of thing dropping out or how the endorsement, it's kind of, I know we're all upset about it, but really when it comes to policies, once again, you got Bernie Sanders and Dennis Kucinich talking about healthcare years ago, understanding their system. Then you got a veteran who was out talking about the coronavirus before everything else. I remember at one point, like 3 months ago, I'm like, why the hell is she even talking about this? I don't want to hear about this shit. I was bored about it, but she was talking about these other countries and how we have to handle it and the fact that we haven't had tests and we need to get up on it and stuff. So it was like, all our best policymakers are just like kind of getting pushed aside by this fucking neoliberal order. You know what I'm saying? That it's just, they're so strong. They're so powerful.
Joe Biden's corpse 2020 is basically what it is.
It's fucking ridiculous. It's sad. It's sad. But there are the golden arches, and also a super chat contribution coming in. Thank you for the super chat contribution, as it is always appreciated on the couch. Damn. Nitrubian. How do you say that? Nitrubian? Dan Nitrubian? Damn it, Ruben. Thank you. Goddamn boomer. Off topic, please take a look at the Ranked Choice Voting California Initiative. Try contacting proponent Scott Mathog for signature gathering due April 21st.
Awesome. Yeah, I know that's been going around, but There's a lot
so
going
much,
around.
and we're going to be talking to a lot of election integrity activists coming up. We have a lot of interviews about to set up. We're going to be talking to people about what's going on in Venezuela. We're going to be talking about the embassy protectors. We got a new documentary coming out soon as well. So there's a lot of things. We're going to stay in the Convo Couch's wheelhouse because a lot of those things that we talked about for 2 fucking years are the things that we have to pay attention to now.
And apparently there's a hashtag dropout Joe virtual protest going on. And maybe you guys want to be a part of that. There's also young people might organize kind of like the Yellow Vests and basically protest and in a way and just not go to work until the DNC pushes Joe Biden away. I mean, I think these are all possibilities that if we can do them, you can stick to your guns and do them. Please do them. Not everybody's going to do them. So, and a lot of people, like I said, don't do them because they need money. So if we can somehow form some sort of fund or have people, donate to people, because this is it, guys. We're really not going to get another shot at this. If Joe Biden becomes the nominee and Donald Trump wins, I mean, I don't really know what's going to happen.
And then we have the biggest hurdle in front of us with this coronavirus right now. Look at the situation with the stimulus
package. Look at how
package.
they're dealing with it,
really
or not dealing with it.
It's awful, you know what I'm saying? And the way the Republicans, the Senate came through and the Democrats got in line with it, Chuck Schumer, you know what I'm saying? It's just, come on, guys. This is not going to help us out. There's no freeze on any rents or anything else. I mean, we have to control this pandemic over here, and this is not the way to do it. So, I mean, get on the phone with your congressman, call everybody you got to call and tell them you don't want to do this. You want to pause in the economy. You want the tax dollars of the American tax dollars pool to pay out the people for once and not just the corporations.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to give the corporations their shit? Give us our shit, too. You're not even giving us our shit.
Not at all. So fam, it's been a long show.
90 minutes. Let's wrap it up. Got anything else, Johnny?
Yeah, I got a quick update on the coronavirus. I'm going to show this video real quick. And
go ahead.
Read through
Update 1. 1. If you have a runny nose and sputum, you have a common cold. 2. Coronavirus pneumonia is a dry cough with no runny nose. 3. This new virus is not heat resistant and will be killed by a temperature of just 26/27 of a degree. It hates the sun. 4. If someone sneezes with it, it takes about 10 feet before it drops to the ground and is no longer airborne. 5. If it drops on a metal surface, it will live for at least 12 hours, so if you come into contact with any metal surface, wash your hands as soon as you can with a bacterial soap. 6. On fabric, it can survive for 6 to 12 hours. Normal laundry detergent will kill it. 7. Drinking warm water is effective for all viruses. Try not to drink liquids with ice. 8. Wash your hands frequently as the virus can only live on your hands for 5 to 10 minutes, but a lot can happen during that time. You can rub your eyes, pick your nose unwittingly and so on. 9. You should also gargle as a prevention. A simple solution of salt in warm water will suffice. 10. Can't emphasize enough, drink plenty of water. Update 2. The symptoms 1. It will first infect the throat, so you'll have a sore throat lasting 3/4 days. 2. The virus then blends into a nasal fluid that enters the trachea and then the lungs, causing pneumonia. This takes about 5/6 days further. 3. With the pneumonia comes high fever and difficulty in breathing. 4. The nasal congestion is not like the normal kind. You feel like you're drowning. It's imperative you then seek immediate attention. Update 3. The new coronavirus may not show sign of infection for many days. How can one know if she is infected? By the time they have fever and/or cough and go to the hospital, the lung is usually 50% fibrosis and it's too late. Experts provide a simple self-check that we can do every morning. Take a deep breath and hold your breath for more than 10 seconds. If you complete it successfully without coughing, without discomfort, stiffness or tightness, etc., it proves there is no fibrosis in the lungs, basically indicates no infection. In critical time, please self-check every morning in an environment with clean air. Everyone should ensure your mouth and throat are moist, never dry. Take a few sips of water every 15 minutes at least. Why? Even if the virus gets into your mouth, drinking water or other liquids will wash them down through your throat and into the stomach. Once there, your stomach acid will kill all the virus. If you don't drink enough water more regularly, the virus can enter your windpipe and into the lungs. That's very dangerous. So please do everything to ensure your safety during this pandemic.
Okay.
Couple super chat contributions out there from Jim Crittenden. Thank you. No, Jim, thank you. Your super chat contribution is always appreciated on the couch. And Patrick S. says, love you guys. Love you back.
Thank you. Yeah, you guys are awesome.
The other thing is that, again, I just kind of want to show on the rent situation. So in LA County, if you go to lacourt.org, you can see here that it says that the first update they did was the clerk's offices at the Superior Court of Los Angeles County will be closed to the public services to be transitioned to telephonic remote solutions. Yeah, they're closing down the courts basically.
Let's hope they do, because I don't want to pay my fucking rent.
What this post says, all right, tenants, listen up. Attorney here, are you out of a job due to COVID? If so, the first thing you need to do is figure out if your local courts have shut down their civil dockets, which LA County they have. They've shut down the civil and criminal or dockets for 60 days. In all likelihood, they probably have. If your civil courts aren't shut down, get out of luck. If your civil courts are shut down, then proceed. Simply put, your landlord can't evict you without an eviction order.
Yeah.
And eviction orders are only granted through civil courts. Without a civil court to hear your landlord's motions to evict, they can't legally evict you.
Yeah. We read this the other day. This is great. Read the rest, go ahead, buddy.
Now, I know there's some landlords that come in here saying we can still forcibly evict you with a private company. If your landlord tries that, be sure to verbally resist them, videotape it, and then sue their asses off for wrongfully evicting you during the COVID crisis without an eviction order. There will be loads of attorneys ready to leap on the opportunity of suing the fuck-face landlords that force out their tenants during a crisis, and no jury will feel sympathy for them. The truth of the matter is that the leaseholder holds your property. If a landlord starts messing with your utilities, water, electricity, or things like your doors, windows, walkways, then you can call the police on them.
No.
Civil courts are closed. Yeah. Actually, and for LA, it says here the criminal ones can't/won't shut down due to there being strict deadlines. The LA court one says that they are.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's it, brother?
It's all up in the air, basically.
Yeah, we don't know. We're at a holding point again as well, because once again, the House hasn't passed this. There's people making some noise. Really got to see what's coming in medically, what's going to happen medically with our country. You know, if more people get sick, how can we force people out to work early? It's ridiculous.
And it's going to be all poor people. So.
It is. Brett McKinney, thank you for that super chat contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. Johnny, anything else?
No.
That's it. So for
right,
Pasta
guys,
Jardula.
Take care. Fiorella.
Johnny Sue on the ones and twos.
CONVO out.
Peace.
Corona.
Peace.